The wild stallion no one could tame, until he heard a boy's whistle. Blood trickled down the ranch hand's arm, forming a puddle in the dust. His body had been thrown against the fence as if it weighed nothing. The black stallion reared up, his eyes reflecting the golden hue of the setting sun. He was the third victim that week. "Get him out of there," shouted Geronimo, the foreman of Horizonte Perdido Ranch, running to help the injured worker. Two men jumped over the fence with ropes, trying to lasso the enraged animal that neighed and bolted across the corral, knocking over a bucket. His hooves pounded the ground, raising red dust. After much effort, they managed to tie him to the corner of the corral. "This beast is only good for dog food," spat Geronimo. "The wound would need stitches." 4 professional trainers, 8 experienced ranch hands, and nothing, lamented Feliciano, the ranch owner, watching from the porch. "A week and we haven't even managed to put a saddle on him." The stallion had arrived after Feliciano bought him at an auction. The seller had guaranteed his pure bloodline, but warned about his temperament. Feliciano ignored the warning. His vanity spoke louder. He wanted the most imposing stallion in the region. "Dad, we should send him away," suggested Diana, his veterinarian daughter who cared for the animals. "He's too wild. He'll kill someone." Feliciano pressed his lips together. His wounded pride weighed as much as his concern. "I'll give it 3 more days. If no one can ride him, I'll sell him to anyone who offers." News of the impossible stallion spread quickly. In the small town of Serra das Almas, 15 kilometers away, it was all anyone talked about. By the riverbank, an 11-year-old boy was fishing when he overheard 2 men talking. "They say the horse is like the devil. Broke Zay's collarbone and almost killed the mayor's nephew. 10 men are in the hospital." Miguel listened attentively. Skinny and small, he wore his grandfather's faded hat. Since his parents died in an accident, he lived with his grandmother Conceição, who sold homemade sweets for a living. The boy had a gift with animals. He was known for calming even the most aggressive dogs. He could whistle in a way that seemed to enchant creatures. His grandfather, now deceased, had been a horse trainer and taught his grandson how to communicate with animals. "Whistling is a conversation," the old man used to say. "Each animal has a tone that touches its soul. Find that melody that speaks to its heart." The next morning, Miguel woke up determined. Without telling his grandmother, he took his hat, a piece of bread, and left before sunrise. He walked to the ranch under the growing heat. Upon arrival, he noticed unusual activity. A trainer was trying his luck with the famous stallion, a tall man scarred with spurs and a whip. Miguel approached the fence where curious onlookers gathered. Being small, he managed to slip to the front. The stallion was tied in the center, alert eyes sensing what was to come. The trainer entered confidently, cracking his whip. "Today you'll learn who's in charge," he said. Miguel felt a tightness in his chest. His grandfather said horses aren't tamed by force, but by trust. What happened next was quick. As the man tried to put a rope around the animal's neck, the stallion reared up. With a sudden movement, he struck the trainer's chest, knocking him down. The horse trampled the screaming man. The ranch hands rushed in, driving the animal away. The trainer was carried out semi-conscious, bloodied, with broken ribs. Feliciano ran his hand over his face in despair. "That's it. I'm sending this animal to slaughter." That's when Miguel gathered his courage. He approached the rancher. "Can I try?" he asked in a thin but determined voice. Feliciano saw that skinny boy and laughed nervously. "Are you crazy? This horse almost killed men 3 times your size." "Let him try," intervened Diana, who had observed the boy's calmness. "What do we have to lose? You've already decided to send the horse to slaughter." Feliciano hesitated. It seemed like a death sentence to let the child enter the corral. "No, I won't have a boy's death on my conscience." Miguel didn't wait. With agility, he slipped under the fence and entered the corral. "My God, get the boy!" shouted a woman. The stallion noticed the new presence and turned, his wild eyes fixed on the intruder, nostrils blowing hot air. He pawed the ground, a ranch hand made to enter, but Diana stopped him. "Wait," she said. Look. Miguel stopped near the animal. No sudden movements. He just stood there, looking into the stallion's eyes, and removed his hat. "Hey, friend," he said softly. "You're scared, aren't you? I would be too." The horse snorted but didn't advance. His ears captured the boy's voice. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." Miguel brought his fingers to his mouth and began to whistle. Not an ordinary whistle. A sweet, hypnotic melody floating in the air. A melody his grandfather had taught him, especially for wild horses. To everyone's surprise, the stallion stopped pawing, ears raised, attentive to the sound, eyes watching the boy with curiosity. The animal lowered its head, listening. "That's it, friend," whispered Miguel, whistling between words. "You understand, don't you?" The stallion took a step forward, then another. Each step careful, measured, different from its previous fury. Diana held her breath. Feliciano gripped the fence tightly. "Impossible," he murmured. The whistling changed, becoming more complex, like a language only the horse understood. The animal was 2 meters from the boy, everyone expecting the worst. To the astonishment of those present, the stallion completely lowered his head until almost touching Miguel's chest. The boy, still whistling, slowly raised his free hand. No one dared breathe. The small hand touched the animal's muzzle, a gentle, soft touch. The horse didn't back away. Instead, he closed his eyes for a moment, as if appreciating the contact. He's taming the demon," whispered one of the ranch hands, incredulous. Miguel continued whistling, now stroking the stallion's neck. The animal seemed completely different from the beast that had almost killed grown men moments before. "Can I ride him?" asked the boy, turning to Feliciano, without moving his hand from the horse. "That's madness," exclaimed the rancher. "He'll kill you." "Let him, Dad," insisted Diana. "Look how calm the horse is." Miguel didn't wait for an answer. Carefully, he positioned himself beside the animal. He continued whistling, a different melody now, more rhythmic. The stallion remained still, as if understanding what the boy wanted. With an agile movement, Miguel grabbed the animal's mane and jumped up, mounting without saddle or bridle. There was a collective gasp. The stallion gave a small trot but didn't try to throw the boy off. "My God in heaven," murmured Geronimo, removing his hat in respect. Miguel smiled, whistling and guiding the stallion around the corral with small heel taps. The animal obeyed as if it had been trained all its life. He made one circuit, then another, trotting smoothly. Feliciano couldn't believe it. He approached the fence, mouth agape. How did you do that, boy?" Miguel stopped the stallion in front of the rancher and shrugged. "My grandfather said horses have souls. We just need to speak their language." Diana opened the corral gate, her eyes never leaving the incredible scene. "Amazing," she said as Miguel guided the stallion out of the corral, still mounted. "I've never seen anything like it." The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky orange and red, creating a golden outline around the boy and the black stallion no one could tame, until he heard a boy's whistle. News of the boy who had tamed the untamable stallion spread like wildfire. The next day, dozens of curious onlookers appeared at Horizonte Perdido Ranch. They wanted to see with their own eyes the boy and the animal that had sent grown men to the hospital. Miguel arrived early, brought by Diana herself, who had gone to fetch him from town. The boy's grandmother, after much reluctance, allowed him to return to the ranch as long as he was supervised. Dona Conceição had known old Francisco, Feliciano's father, and therefore trusted the family. The black stallion was in the same corral, but now seemed like a different animal. Calm. He observed the movement around him with attentive eyes, but without the previous fury. When Miguel approached the fence, the animal whinnied softly, as if recognizing him. "It's unbelievable," commented Geronimo, now treating the boy with respect. "The beast nearly killed me when I tried to give him water last night." Then Miguel just appeared and whistled a bit, and he became as gentle as a lamb. Feliciano had spent the night thinking. What he had witnessed the previous day had completely changed his plans. Instead of getting rid of the stallion, he now saw an opportunity. He approached Miguel, who was stroking the animal's muzzle through the fence. "I have a proposition for you, boy," said the rancher, adjusting his hat. "How about spending your vacation here at the ranch? You can stay in the guest room. In exchange, you work with this horse. If you manage to tame him completely, I'll pay you good money." Miguel's eyes lit up. He had just completed the school year and would have 2 months of vacation ahead. Normally, he would spend the time helping his grandmother with the sweets or fishing in the river. The idea of staying at the ranch, working with horses like his grandfather did, was a dream. "I need to talk to my grandmother," he replied, serious. "She depends on me to help with the sweets." "Leave that to me," assured Feliciano. "I'll hire someone to help her while you're here." Diana smiled. She knew her father and knew he wasn't usually so generous. But the rancher had seen the profit potential. A fully tamed stallion of pure lineage like that would be worth a fortune. In the afternoon, after Dona Conceição gave her reluctant consent, Miguel returned with a small suitcase containing his few clothes and his grandfather's old hat. Diana showed him to his room, small but comfortable, in the employees' area of the main house. "And what shall we call him?" asked Diana, as they walked to the corral where the stallion waited. Miguel observed the animal for a few moments. The black coat gleamed under the afternoon sun, as if made of polished obsidian. When the horse turned his head towards him, his eyes seemed to reflect the sky. "Thunder," he answered finally. "We'll call him Thunder." In the days that followed, everyone at the ranch watched in amazement at the animal's transformation. Miguel spent hours with Thunder, first just talking and whistling, then brushing his coat, cleaning his hooves, until finally beginning the actual training. The boy's method was different from anything the ranch hands had ever seen. There were no whips, spurs, or shouts, only whistles, gentle touches, and much, much patience. Sometimes, he would simply sit in the grass near the corral and play an old harmonica he had found in the barn. The stallion would stop whatever he was doing to listen. "My grandfather said music opens animals' hearts," he explained to Diana, who had become a sort of tutor during his stay. "When we play something beautiful for them, it's like speaking their language." A week later, Miguel was already riding Thunder across the open field, without saddle or bridle, guiding him only with light knee touches and whistles. The stallion, who previously wouldn't tolerate even the approach of humans, now galloped proudly with the skinny boy on his back. Feliciano couldn't contain his delight. Several ranchers from the region had already appeared, interested in buying the animal or hiring Miguel to train their own difficult horses. But the boy insisted that Thunder was special, different from other horses. There was something about him that went beyond common training. One afternoon, as Miguel returned from a ride on Thunder, he saw unusual movement in the stables. A truck was parked, and several men were carrying boxes inside. "What's happening?" he asked Geronimo, who was supervising everything. "It's the equipment for the rodeo," explained the foreman. "The boss entered Thunder in Sunday's competition. It's in the neighboring town." Miguel felt a tightness in his chest. They had never talked about a rodeo. Thunder was a lineage horse, not a rodeo animal. Besides, despite all the progress, the stallion still startled easily in noisy environments or when surrounded by strangers. "But he's not ready for that," protested Miguel. "Thunder needs more time." Geronimo shrugged. "Boss's orders. He thinks it's time to show what the horse can do. There's a lot of money involved, boy." That night, Miguel couldn't sleep. He got out of bed and went to the corral where Thunder was resting. The animal approached immediately, snorting softly against his shoulder, as he did when he wanted attention. "Hey, big guy," whispered Miguel, stroking the stallion's strong neck. "What are we going to do now?" For the first time in days, he whistled the special melody his grandfather had taught him, the one that had calmed Thunder during their first encounter. The horse visibly relaxed, resting his head against the boy's chest. "Everything will be okay," he promised, though he didn't know how to keep that promise. The next morning, Feliciano called Miguel to his office. The room was impressive. with a solid wood desk and walls covered with photographs of prize-winning horses. "You've done an incredible job with Thunder," began the rancher, indicating a chair for the boy to sit. "Better than I expected, so I want to make you another proposal." Miguel sat on the edge of the chair, uncomfortable. He had never been in the office before. "If Thunder wins the rodeo on Sunday, I'll double your payment. And there's more. I'll offer you a permanent job here at the ranch. You have a way with animals, boy. You could become a great trainer." The offer was tempting. Miguel thought about his grandmother, the difficult days they spent trying to make ends meet. A permanent job at the ranch would mean a better life for both of them. "And if he's not ready for the rodeo?" he asked, hesitantly. Feliciano's expression hardened slightly. "He has to be. I've bet a lot on this horse, boy. More than you can imagine. Do we have a deal?" Miguel swallowed hard. Deep down, he felt Thunder wasn't ready for the confusion of a rodeo, but perhaps he could prepare him in the remaining days. "Perhaps we have a deal," he finally answered. In the days that followed, Miguel intensified the training. He tried to accustom Thunder to loud noises, people shouting, sudden movements. Progress was slow. The stallion still startled easily when pressured too much. On the eve of the rodeo, Miguel found Diana in the stables, brushing her own mare. "I'm worried about Thunder," he confessed. "I think your father is rushing things." Diana stopped what she was doing and looked at the boy. She had sympathized with him from the first day, admiring his gentleness and uncommon wisdom for someone so young. "My father has always been like that," she said with a sigh. "When he sees a chance to profit, he doesn't think about anything else. But you need to do what you think is right, Miguel. You know Thunder better than anyone." That night, while everyone slept, Miguel returned to the corral. Thunder came to greet him, as always. The boy hugged the animal's strong neck, feeling its warmth, hearing its calm breathing. "Want to go for a ride?" he whispered. Without saddle or bridle, only with a thin rope serving as a guide, he mounted the stallion and quietly left the ranch. The full moon illuminated the path through fields and hills. Miguel wanted to show Thunder the world beyond the fences, prepare him for the next day. They rode for hours, crossing streams, climbing hills, galloping on open plains. The boy whistled occasionally, different melodies that meant different commands. Thunder responded instantly, as if they could read each other's thoughts. On a hilltop, they stopped to rest. Miguel dismounted and sat on the grass, with Thunder grazing peacefully beside him. The stars seemed infinite in the dark sky, reminding him of the stories his grandfather told about the horses of the stars, free spirits that no one could ever tame. It was then that an idea came to him. Maybe there was another solution, one he hadn't considered before. When the sun began to rise on the horizon, man and horse were already back at the ranch. Miguel had made his decision. The day of the rodeo dawned with a cloudless sky. The arena had been set up at the entrance to the neighboring town, and from the early morning hours, pickup trucks and animal transport vehicles arrived from all directions. The competition attracted breeders from throughout the region. Miguel woke before everyone at the ranch. He passed through the kitchen, where he picked up a few apples and went straight to the stable where Thunder was. The stallion greeted him with a slight whinny of recognition. "Good morning, friend," whispered the boy, offering an apple on the palm of his hand. The horse accepted the gift, chewing slowly while Miguel stroked his neck. The decision he had made during the night still weighed on his heart. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined. Thunder wasn't just any animal. There was something special about him, something that went beyond rodeo prizes or monetary value. "You really did work a miracle with that animal," said a voice behind him. Miguel turned. It was Diana, already dressed for the rodeo in boots and hat. She looked at the stallion with admiration and then at the boy. Anyone else would have given up after what happened to the trainers, or would have broken his spirit by force. "It's not a miracle," replied Miguel, turning back to look at Thunder. "It's just respect. My grandfather said horses are like people. They have fear, they have pride, they have their own desires. The difference is they can't express it in words. Diana approached and stood next to the boy. I talked to my father last night, she said, lowering her voice. I tried to convince him to postpone Thunder's participation in the rodeo, to give you more time, but he won't listen. He's bet a lot of money on this. Miguel nodded. He had expected as much. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. An hour later, the black stallion was loaded into the trailer along with 2 other horses from the ranch that would participate in different competitions. Miguel insisted on traveling in the truck cab, not wanting to leave Thunder alone during the journey. Feliciano, too excited by the prospect of profit, didn't question it. When they arrived at the rodeo site, the environment was an explosion of sounds, smells, and movement. Food stalls, loudspeakers announcing competitors, the smell of wet earth in the arena, and dozens of animals gathered created a sensory chaos that left Thunder visibly agitated as soon as he left the trailer. Easy, easy, murmured Miguel, firmly holding the rope that guided the animal. He began to whistle softly the special melody that always calmed the stallion. It partially worked. Thunder still snorted nervously, but allowed himself to be led to the preparation area. Feliciano soon appeared, accompanied by other ranchers. He displayed Thunder like a trophy, telling the story of how the black demon had been tamed by the prodigy boy. Several men approached, admiring the animal's build and musculature, asking technical questions about his lineage. He'll participate in the riding event at 2 o'clock, announced Feliciano. And afterward, he's open for purchase proposals. Miguel, who was brushing Thunder's black coat a little distance away, froze upon hearing those words. Purchase. Feliciano was planning to sell Thunder. The boy felt as if an ice stone had dropped into his stomach. At no point had the rancher mentioned this possibility. Diana, who had also heard, approached Miguel. I didn't know, she said, genuinely surprised. I swear I didn't know he intended to sell Thunder. The boy continued brushing the animal's coat, trying to process the information. Part of him had already imagined this might happen. Feliciano was, above all, a businessman. The event starts in an hour, continued Diana, looking worriedly at the stallion's agitated state. Do you think he can do it? Miguel looked into Thunder's eyes. He saw there the same wild spirit from the first day, only partially tamed. The rodeo, with all its agitation, people shouting, other horses, strange smells. It would be too much for him. I need some time alone with him, he asked. Diana nodded and walked away, heading toward the grandstand that was already beginning to fill. Miguel led Thunder to a quieter corner, near some trees that provided shade and a little isolation from the growing noise. There, he hugged the stallion's strong neck and closed his eyes. He remembered his grandfather, his lessons about respecting animals, how he said some horses were born to be free. He was certain his grandfather would have seen the same in Thunder. The decision he had made the night before crystallized in his mind. There was no alternative. When Geronimo came looking for him for the event, he found Miguel with Thunder still in that isolated corner. It's almost time, boy. The boss is looking for you too. Miguel nodded. I'll change clothes and we'll be right there, he lied, indicating a small bag he had brought. As soon as the foreman left, Miguel mounted Thunder without a saddle, just with a thin rope serving as a guide. He leaned forward, close to the animal's ear. It's time for the truth, friend, he whispered. Trust me. With a light touch of his heels, he guided the stallion not toward the arena, but toward a side exit from the grounds. No one paid attention to them. Everyone was too busy with the events happening in the main arena. Upon reaching the secondary road that skirted the town, Miguel looked back one last time. He would miss the ranch, Diana, even old Geronimo. But what he was about to do was right. For Thunder and for himself. He began to whistle, but this time a different melody. Faster, freer, Thunder understood immediately. His ears pricked up, his muscles tensed, and with a powerful impulse, he began a gallop that soon transformed into an all-out run down the dirt road. Meanwhile, at the rodeo, Feliciano walked furiously around the grounds, searching for the boy and the horse who should have been preparing for the main event. His irritation grew with each minute. Several potential buyers had shown interest, and one of them, a rich rancher from the south, had offered an absurd amount for the stallion if he won the competition. Where the hell have they gotten to? He asked every employee he encountered. It was Diana who first realized what had happened. Seeing her father pass in front of the grandstand for the third time, she approached him. "They're not here, Dad," she said, keeping her voice low. "They've gone." "What do you mean, gone?" Feliciano stopped, staring at his daughter. "Miguel took Thunder away. I saw the two of them leaving by the side exit almost half an hour ago." The rancher's face turned red with anger. "That's theft. I'll call the police. That brat will regret—" "No, Dad," interrupted Diana, with a firmness that surprised them both. "You know it's not right. That horse was never meant for rodeos or to be kept confined. And Miguel understood that before any of us." Far from there, man and horse galloped as if they were one. The secondary road soon gave way to open fields, verdant hills that stretched to the horizon. Miguel had never experienced such a feeling of freedom. The wind hit his face, messing up his hair, carrying away all worries. Thunder ran as if he had wings, his hooves barely touching the ground. There was no more fear in his eyes, no distrust, just the pure joy of running freely, feeling the sun on his back and the wind in his mane. When they finally stopped to rest, by a small stream surrounded by trees, Miguel dismounted and let the stallion drink water. He sat on the bank, thinking about what to do next. He couldn't return to town, at least not immediately. Feliciano would certainly be furious, but he also couldn't continue running forever. His grandmother would be worried, and he didn't have enough provisions. As he reflected, he noticed Thunder moving away from the stream and walking toward the open plain. The animal stopped a few meters away and turned, as if waiting for Miguel to follow him. His eyes, once full of fury, now conveyed an almost wise serenity. It was then that the boy understood. He got up and approached the stallion, stroking his muzzle. "You want to be free, don't you?" he murmured. "That's what my grandfather said. Some horses were born to run without fences." Thunder whinnied softly, as if confirming. Miguel felt tears forming, but they weren't of sadness. It was a different emotion, a mixture of pride and deep understanding. He untied the rope that served as a guide and threw it aside. Then, he took a step back. "Go, friend. You're free now." For a moment, the stallion didn't move. He stood there, looking at the boy as if hesitating. Then, slowly, he approached and rested his muzzle against Miguel's face, in a silent farewell. With one last look, Thunder turned and began to gallop across the open plain. His black silhouette stood out against the green of the field and the blue of the sky, growing smaller as he moved away. Miguel remained there, watching until the stallion was just a dot on the horizon. He had no regrets. He had done what was right. 3 days later, Miguel returned to town. As expected, Feliciano had reported his disappearance and the theft of the horse. But to everyone's surprise, when the boy arrived alone and told what he had done, instead of anger, he found understanding. Diana had convinced her father that Thunder would never be happy confined, no matter how good the treatment. She had also emphasized how the story of the boy who had tamed the untamable and then returned his freedom was much more valuable than any rodeo prize. And so it was. The story of Miguel and Thunder spread far beyond Serra das Almas. Regional newspapers published reports. People traveled miles to hear the boy tell how he had communicated with the wild stallion. Feliciano, realizing the potential, transformed his ranch into a natural horse training center, with Miguel as the main instructor, teaching others to respect the nature of each animal. Sometimes, in the late afternoons when the sun began to set, Miguel would climb to the highest hill on the property and whistle the special melody his grandfather had taught him. And some people swore that, on full moon nights, it was possible to see the silhouette of a majestic black stallion running freely through the distant hills, as if responding to the call of that unique whistle that had touched his wild soul.